G'day guys, Mac with the Outer Circle. I know it's been a few days since I last recorded, but last week I was teaching out off-site, running an engineering course, and I bit down on my way home and split a tooth from top to bottom, so lengthways, as opposed to, chipping a bit of tooth. So I pulled out the bit of tooth with some pliers that was causing me all the irritation and the grief, but I still had to get the rest of it pulled at the dentist. So did that on Thursday, and I just want to give myself a few days recovery time. Obviously, I was still chin wagging and working as normal during that time, but just for recording purposes, you don't need me, slopping about because of medication or whatever that's designed to kill and numb pain. Anyway, there is a new book announced for the Horus Heresy, so we'll talk about that. Also, I want to talk about Chthonian missions, because it came up because I posted on basically the Facebook page and said, they can do anything about the awful Chthonian missions. And a few people took exception to this, so I'm going to address that first in the video. The Chthonian missions have the issue of being 4-turn missions, and we spoke about it when I had Darcy and Randy all up here visiting, because we were playing missions from Heresy 1. Now, we all have played Chthonian missions. In fact, they're the most common missions you play at events these days, because they have objectives that aren't just kill points, which is what all of the core rulebook objectives tend to be. But they have an issue of 4-turn limitation. And the thing with the 4-turn limitation is, if you're running an army like Maruscara or Drop Hot Assault or Sky Hunter or whatever it might be, you're running an army where your forces aren't arriving in full until turn 2, 3, or even 4, in rare circumstances, in the game, you're at a massive disadvantage. And the 5-turn game limit meant that you had a chance to claw some points back. Essentially, you're trading in some points at the start of the mission in cumulative scoring, and relying on the fact that you're going to cause so much damage in turns 2, 3, and 4, that you'll make up the difference, and turn 5 tends to be the nail-biter turn I find in most events. Considering I have 30 years of, first-hand experience of this, I say turn 5 is often where the game's decided in a tight game. Because, essentially, the person who is holding the objectives, who deployed all their stuff on the battlefield at the start of the game, they tend to be just scoring from minute 1 in the game. Just adding up points cumulatively, just more and more and more each turn. Versus the people who are coming on later don't have said opportunity. So I find the 4-turn game is a huge limitation, and many people I've spoken to agree that they don't like the 4 turns. They like the fact that the game is having these objectives scattered around the table that, again, isn't just kill the other army, because that incentivizes massive power gaming, but actually holding strategic areas of the board. That is interesting gameplay, and in stopping people from holding those strategic areas, that is the challenge inherent in the game. That's what makes it fun. And my core belief is that a 4-turn game is essentially unrewarding, because you don't get the pleasure of basically strategically outthinking a person. Like I said, if you're playing Maruscara, I'm holding 3 objectives, scoring 3 points a turn cumulative, and you come on in turn 3, then you're pretty much no way with 2 objectives, or trying to take any of the 3 I hold off my army that I can just sit on now, are you going to make up that points gulf that is now broken out between us within the 2 turns that are remaining. And I'd be curious to see what those of you who are watching the video have to say about that. Also, in news, I have the Build Paint Play initiative coming together. The voting is still ongoing for that. So pick out your choice of pendants. At the moment, winning by essentially half of the votes have gone to the pure silver pendant. The gold with colours is my personal favourite. That's got about a quarter of the votes, and the silver with colours is running at about another quarter of the votes. So at this stage, it looks like the silver pendant is going to be the winner. The cost will be about $3 Australian with shipping to me when I buy them. So that's the sort of money I'll have to outlay at the start. So I also need to get a bit of an idea of numbers of people who'd be interested in trying to get the pendants, so I know how many to order. So again, if you could comment that below, that would really help me out. I might even have to do a separate poll just on that. Now, on to the actual episode itself. Let's go through and talk about this book. So, Martian Civil War. Martian Civil War is something that for years has deserved the full big black book treatment. But you can already tell from the photo, this is not a huge, thick tome. Realistically speaking, this looks like it's about a Siege of Cthonia sized book. It's definitely bigger than the Legacies of the Age of Darkness, but not anywhere near as big as, say, the core rulebook for the Horus Heresy or the Legionis Astartes / Legionis Hereticus books. It is smaller than that. What is it actually bringing to the game? Because Martian Civil War is a very dynamic and interesting battlefield, because you're talking about all of the different Forge worlds across the Imperium, basically being split asunder between loyalists and those who sided with Horus, and the Dark Mechanicum, demon engines, all that sort of thing, the gross perversions of existing units that then occurs, putting demons into Castellax, for example. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the route in which this book is heading. What it appears to be doing is, it's adding 4 new warlord traits, 4 new blasphemous high techno arcana. It's going to be pretty hard to outshine the shoot twice one. Allowing them to delve into necro technology, melamina, and other forbidden sciences. A Scion of Sarum can even field whole armies of frenzied blood slaughterers. Blood slaughterers are... they're far inferior for Dreadnought for points. They are AP3 at sort of an initiative. They're a weird unit. I speak about them a bit in the Demon video. So unless they've made some radical changes to them, that's not going to be any more dangerous, in fact probably less dangerous than Castellax spam, frankly, in a Cybernetica list. Also, they're continuing the Onslaught campaign system from Cthonia, adding new optional rules to theme your campaigns after the war on Mars. Optional rules to theme your campaigns after the war on Mars. So the missions are just the Siege of Cthonia missions yet again. So this is the third book in a row, if we're not looking at the Legacies of the Age of Darkness, Exemplary Battles in the Age of Darkness book. What a title that is. Where we're getting just the same missions reprinted. Heresy 1 gave us 9 books with half a dozen to 12, in some cases, missions in every one of those books that were different from the previous missions. And you have all of that as a groundwork that you can literally just go and cut-paste those Heresy 1 missions, use them in Heresy 2.0, and yet they are doing a third book of Siege of Chthonia's missions. Why the laziness? Why even add the missions into the book at this point? Because I've already got Cthonia, I've already got Beta Garmin. I don't need them again. I've got them. I know how to play those missions. So, whatever. Then we have the Titan support stratagem, which is interesting because we had some of this stuff in previous book, actually. Cthonia book. But essentially, it's allowing you to take Titans in low points games, which is an awful, awful idea. People don't want to play Titans in low points games except for weird, weeby power gamer types. No, it's just not a thing, because essentially one person goes to all the effort of building and painting a lovely little army and setting it up across the table and deploying 100 miniatures. Then someone pops a Warlord Titan down on the other side, proceeds to hose the first army off the table, who can't really hurt it because of the way the rules work in the game. It's just not fun. If you're going to go down the route of playing Titans, frankly, 28mm scale Titans belong in display cases, not on tabletops. Same with Thunderhawks and Stormbirds and Tau. What was the big fly? Not the Barracuda, the other one. They rely on essentially being collector's items to sell them, not usable, functional, useful gaming pieces. They're a pain in the ass, they're hard to transport, they're heavy, they can upend whole tables, you can't move them around on tables, You have to do massive modifications, make gigantic bases for them. It's too clunky to use in games. And all this does is open the door for people to come on to events, 1,000-point event. Here's my Warhound Titan. Oh, fun. Everyone's going to have the tools to deal with that, aren't they? So now people have to go out of their way at events to say, well, don't be a dick, don't bring this is off limits, because of these kinds of weird rules that they insist on putting in the game, because the company just wants to say, hey, you can go out and buy these off us now, right? Titan sales have been slow since we doubled the price in 10 years. Please buy our Titans off us. No, there's a game for that. It's called Titanicus. If you want to play Titans, play Titanicus. If you want to shoot away armies with Titans, play Legions Imperialis. Frankly, you'll enjoy it more. But setting these things up and building and painting, and it's like $4,500 Australian to buy a Warlord Titan now. $3,500 US, give or take. That's a lot of money to be sinking to a model that's hardly ever going to play games, and again, frankly, the people across from you are not going to enjoy. The only niche circumstance where this works is when people are playing with these full-size 28mm ones and they do something silly like set them up on a basketball court and there's 20 Titans, people all bring their Titans along. But those are the sort of niche games where you don't need the company to write rules. The community literally can work that shit out for themselves. So, and the last thing, of course, in here is that they do mention how in this book they're essentially just taking the Exemplary Battles units, the Questoris Knights, and the Demon Engines books, and they're just squashing those into this book with those few extra warlord traits and such. I imagine there might be a special character or two. That is usually the way. Maybe it would be really cool if we got Fabricator General. I doubt that's going to happen, but it would be really cool. But this is, for all intents and purposes, Exemplary Battles in the Age of Darkness Volume 2, because that's all it is. It's a publishing of existing PDFs which were free into a hardcover book with the missions from 2 previously released hardcover books, which happen to be identical to one another, and adding in a few warlord traits. In which case, what is this offering? A little bit of fluff at the start of the book, maybe, but I am very unimpressed on the whole. What we should be seeing is a Dark Mechanicum list, a proper functioning list, which differs to the regular Mechanicum list. People wanted Dark Mechanicum for a very long time. I'm designing a bunch of STLs for one of my own takes on the Dark Mechanicum at the moment, putting them on the Outer Circles page on Cults 3D. And I've got Wehrman Russ and a transport Rhino type tank that look the part, as well as essentially Tech Thralls and Thalax on there of my designing, though. It's so different to make them feel different. And that's the sort of thing that would interest me. What happens when you stick a demon into a Castellax instead, or a lesser demon into a Thalax? Something perverted, right? What happens if you shove a demon into a Domitar or a Vorax? Or what if you just expose these things to the warp and it corrupts the machine mind? These are the interesting things about Dark Mechanicum that we'd like to see, and we're not getting that. So it looks to be a very, very lazy book. And if it's a very, very lazy book, well, what is the incentive for me to buy into it? And with the rumors of Heresy 3.0 that keep popping up, that it's really more of a 2.5, where they go in and tidy up some rules. I'll believe it when I see it. There is very low incentive for me to get this book. The only reason I'll do it is to basically review it. And I haven't even bothered to review the last book yet. I've recorded footage, I've spoken about it, but it's just sitting there. I can't be stuffed editing it because it's like, well, you already know that it's full of issues. The Shattered Legions just don't work. The Black Shields are pretty underwhelming, but have a few builds which are viable and a few that are overpowered. That shouldn't surprise anyone. The characters are, on the whole, poorly written. Basically, 2 to 3 okay-ish ones, 2 pretty underwhelming ones. So, yeah, I'm underwhelmed in every sense of the word, essentially. right now. But please, I want someone to spin this and how this is such a great thing and it's a positive. What, because they remembered that the heresy existed, I guess? I don't know. But yeah, the whole repurposing of just existing stuff instead of actually creating new and interesting, unique content seems more like this book is being just quickly thrown together and thrown out the door in order to tie in with the plastic Mechanicum release that is coming down the line, which of course has an additional issue, which is that they don't have enough plastic miniatures for it. It doesn't look like they're adding Scutari at this stage. That hopefully they do. That would make sense. But in my mind, at least, the plastic Mechanicum release, like the Solar Auxilia, is a case of Games Workshop wants to put these things into plastic because they've sold well for a long time in resin, and resin has all its production issues and people shy away from it as a material. I get why. But in doing so, they never release a full bloody range of miniatures. They always release some miniatures, and then people are like, well, what's coming next, you know? Take Solar Auxilia. Are we getting the Ogrins yet? Charonite Ogrins. Are they coming in plastic anytime soon? And, of course, people in Warhammer community can't help them. They'll be like, oh, we'll let you know when we hear more. It's like, no, I need to know so I can make, informed purchasing decisions. Like, why are you trying to hide this from me? It literally just means whether or not you're going to get a sale in plastic or whether you're going to get a sale in resin. Just tell me what it is. Are you going to be making these in plastic anytime soon? And they won't. They won't give people an answer. People want to know because they go like, well, why would I drop, $300-$400 on a single unit of Charonite Ogrins if they're going to be in plastic in 2 months' time? People hate not knowing that sort of thing. Whereas, in previous editions of the game, like say 40k, they would show you in the codex, when you bought the codex, all of the miniatures that were coming out as a part of that whole thing. It might not release for several months, but you could see the miniatures physically and be like, oh, okay, cool. I know what to save up for and buy. Oh, there's new Raptors coming. I won't buy the old Raptors, that sort of thing. We don't have that at the moment. Games Workshop just remains tight-lipped and they just randomly drop something out of their ass one day and you go, oh, yeah, that's in plastic now. That's cool. But they don't do it to everything all at once. They're doing Thalax in plastic. They're doing Tech Thralls in plastic. They're doing Castellax in plastic. They're doing the Thanatar in plastic. And they're doing a Magos in plastic. Do we have the Krios or the Krios Venator? No, we have the Triaros. Well, does that mean that we're going to get the Karachnos since they've already done the Triaros? Well, that would make sense because they've already done 3/4 of the work. What about the Macrocarad Explorator? Shrugs, Ordinatus, definitely staying in resin for a long time because it's so big and clunky. What about Domitar? What about Arlatax? What about Ursarax? What about Voltarax? What about Vorax? Myrmidons, both the Secutors and Destructors, something like that. What is or isn't coming to plastic? And of course, people will get their hopes up. They go out and they spend money before their brain actually kicks in. It's just a weird thing with Warhammer fans. And they'll go out and they'll buy a bunch of this plastic stuff and they'll have all these Castellax and Thalax and won't know what to do with them because they go, oh shit, how do I actually expand this army? What do I actually need? Oh, I need a bunch of Myrmidons. Oh, they're resin. Oh, they're basically monopose resin. They coming in plastic anytime soon? They don't have all of the weapon options I might need. What about Magos and Unbanned? Is that going to come into plastic, or I have to buy the Art Magos Dracovic model and do the different head that it comes with? What do I pick? You get what I'm getting at, I hope, because I've made a pretty long-winded, telling of this story. It just seems to me like it's a half-baked release to go with a half-baked book. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm Mac with the Outer Circle. Thank you all for watching. By the time this video actually drops on YouTube, I will long be at work, so unless it's break time when I actually drop it, which I might aim for, I won't be there for the preview. I'll just have to read the comments when I get home from work. Apart from that, have a lovely day, look after yourselves, and I will catch you on the next episode.